Well, you all, apparently, the day has finally come. As you all might have now heard the news that at 5:30 p.m. this past Thursday, so what are we, Saturday now? When you're seeing this, it'll probably be Monday or maybe Tuesday. I haven't decided when to post this yet. But we're a couple of days removed. And thus far, you all, it's been kind of a dud. You know, the lunatic from Mar-a-Lago told everyone to protest, protest, protest. But a lot of people are a little tired of sticking their neck out on the line and being left to really find out that things are not what they might have appeared to be. You know, this is the first time any American president, current, living, deceased, past, any American president has ever been indicted in this country. Donald Trump is the first president of this country ever to be indicted. That's monumental and a milestone. So that's why we're really speaking on this. Not because we have some type of vengeance or axe to grind. You all know I don't hold grudges. We all know what happened. How his goons tried to invade jurisdictions that they don't live in, do bodily harm to people who aren't their neighbors but are their citizens. We know that. And you know, a lot of people are saying this is a political persecution. Well, it's the strangest political persecution ever, if you think about it. Because, one, this is kind of predates his political life. This case involves something that occurred in 2016, prior to him winning the presidency. So, in essence, if you really want to be technical, it really doesn't have anything to do with politics. But now that he's entered the political field and been a political icon in America, now everything has to do with politics. So we'll say that it's political, only because he's a political figure in America. But the actual case, you all, doesn't have anything to do with anything that he did whilst he was president. So the Republican Party, which is just as petrified as Donald Trump is right now, they're saying that it's a political persecution. But you all, that's not making any sense to me. For this reason too. They're saying this is a district attorney from Manhattan, the first ever African American district attorney of Manhattan. They're saying Alvin Bragg is going after the president. This is a Soros-funded BA, you know, yada, yada, yada. But you all, that's not really truthfully the most accurate depiction and narrative of this story. It's just not. And I'm not going to let folks get away with trying to change or alter a narrative and not tell the full story. You all, it is true. The district attorney in Manhattan is Albert Bragg. And he does have this Trump case before him. But you all, it's like sitting in a college classroom and your college professor is talking to the students in the class, teaching them what they're going to need in order to pass the class. Now, it's up to each and every individual student in that classroom to pass tests, quizzes, maybe take written essays, whatever. It's up to each student to pass those assignments in order to pass the class, right? The professor can only impart the knowledge. It's up to the students to actually remember and put it to practice. So, the New York Times was the most accurate of all the media publications. They said on their front page, and I wish I had the paper, I'd hold it up for you all, but I don't. They said a Manhattan grand jury indicts the former president, Donald J. Trump. So, is Alvin Bragg the district attorney, the grand jury, you all? Or are they two separate entities in this judicial system? Because the Republican Party seems to want to blame a DA for a decision reached by a grand jury in Manhattan. Now, here's some things you all should know. A grand jury in this country, we're talking America, a grand jury usually consists of minimum 12. It could be up to maximum 23 people on a grand jury. So we have a range of 12 to 23 people hearing evidence, you all, from the district attorney. Now, this is where it gets a little dicey for the Republicans and Donald Trump himself. Anywhere from 12 to 23 people are listening to what the district attorney is presenting. You all, ask yourself this. Can you find 12 random people in Manhattan, between 12 and 23 random people in Manhattan, and none of them would have supported Donald Trump in either election in 16 or 20? It's fucking Manhattan. There are Trump supporters in Manhattan. So because a grand jury by nature is secret, now we know why. Because it's a secret deliberative body presented with evidence from the district attorney, we don't know who's on the grand jury. There could be Trump supporters on the grand jury. There could be people that didn't vote on the grand jury. There could be people that have been under a rock and might not know anything about Donald Trump. It's a random group of citizens who live in Manhattan. Now they're presented with all of this evidence. You all think about this. If the evidence is baloney, or as a senator from South Carolina went on network television and said bullshit, if the evidence is bullshit, we'll go with that, senator. If the evidence is bullshit, you're telling me, as a reasonable, thoughtful individual who happens to have become a United States senator, that 12 to 23 different Americans would have come up with 34 plus counts of an indictment. he doesn't have very much faith in the American citizenry to use common sense, their best wisdom and judgment, to come to a proper determination about one of their own citizens and whether they believe they committed criminality. This is what your own senators are saying about their system, in essence, in order to protect their former president, nominee in 2020, and presumptive frontrunner in 2024. They're bemoaning your own wisdom, Americans. Listen to what they're saying. Now, if it had just been the district attorney that decided unilaterally, without a grand jury and panel, to indict Donald Trump, they could have possibly potentially had a political persecution argument. But you all, this was Manhattan citizens, residents, who looked at all the information presented that the district attorney came with and decided to find this man to have committed 34 different counts of criminality. And this, we still don't know what it is exactly. I have no clue. You all have no clue. The former president has no clue. Neither does the Republican Party. And this is where it gets a little crazy. Really, it's going to get crazy now. Because the legislative branch of this country is demanding, for the first time ever in this nation's history, that a local jurisdiction turn over something that's supposed to remain secret and publicize to we the people. A secret process, which is what a grand jury is, you all, by nature. Go and pick up a Webster's dictionary. It is a secret deliberative body by design. And they want to turn this information over to the Oversight Judiciary Committee so they can publicly come out and tell you all. Because the House of Representatives is the people's house. So all the citizenry would know the information in this indictment prior to the investigation being completed and done with. Nothing like that has ever happened before for one person in this country's history. And yet, your Republicans who have a select committee in regards to weaponization of the executive branch is currently weaponizing the legislative branch to go after a local jurisdiction in their country. Insane, you all. Completely insane. For those of us who study legal matters, research, like legality, this is unprecedented in so many different ways. Yes, the president is unprecedented that he's been indicted, but it's also unprecedented what the legislative branch is doing to try to usurp justice for one citizen in this country and one citizen alone. Now, why would they be trying to do this, you all? Ask yourself this. The Republican Party, why are they going out of their way to behave like this when they know what they're asking for is illegal, when they know their behavior is outrageous, preposterous? Well, this is simple. Of all the questions to answer, this is simple. Quite simply, you all, they didn't do their due diligence as a political party. And they haven't been doing their due diligence as a political party for quite some time now. Let me elaborate. In 2008, Senator at the time, John McCain, ran for president against former President Barack Obama. Now he's selected as his vice presidential choice the former governor from Alaska, Sarah Palin. She hadn't been in political life too long, you all. And she's from Alaska. Nobody really knows what the hell goes on in Alaska. No one. The military. But that's about it. And she's this kind of dorky, quirky kind of person. And she's saying all kinds of crazy things that she's not run through her boss, who she's running with. And you know, later on, Senator John McCain said that he regretted, I believe, or someone associated with him said that he regretted selecting her. But you all, this trend has continued. In 2016, when the lunatic walked down the escalator and started spewing out his usual racist bullshit, and he gained traction in the Republican Party and ultimately garnered their nomination, this is when the vetting ended of Donald Trump. As soon as he secured the nomination in 2016. Why do I say something like that? Easy. You really, as a political party, didn't have any knowledge about the Billy Bush tape? That's something that any operative for the opposition could have paid for and secured. But the reason they didn't know about it, you all, is because Donald Trump was an entertainer. He had friends in the media world. And those friends, they would do something called catch and release. Any negative story that would have harmed his candidacy was paid for by the National Enquirer. And then it was killed. You didn't hear about it. This is what happened up until the Billy Bush thing, right before the election. Now, at the same time that comes out, there's also murmurs about an adult film star that might have had an extramarital affair. That's where the hush money comes in. Because it was only a murmur. You didn't hear about it anymore. The Republican Party, they didn't do any due diligence. No research. And then he was president. Now, as their party standard there, as the president is of any political party, of course they're going to get behind their guy. He's their president now. So in 2020, when he announced he's running for re-election, let me show you how they didn't do any due diligence again. At their convention, you know, where you're supposed to have an entire platform of things that you want to present to the people. Their entire platform was a summation of just declaring their re-election for Donald Trump. There was nothing else in their platform for 2020 besides, we hereby renominate Donald J. Trump to be president of the United States. That was the Republican Party platform in 2020. No due diligence. So now, let's roll with this is a political persecution, as the Republican Party and Donald Trump are alleging. Look, you want to be the commander-in-chief of the entire nation again. You did a horrible job the first time, but you want to do it again. And you expect the opposition party to not do any due diligence the same way you didn't? Look, let's say the DNC, President Biden, the Democrats, all of that shit he's saying, let's say it's true. It's your company. If you've committed crime at your company, isn't this the country you all, some of you are too young to remember this. There was a self-made, the first self-made American billionaire woman. Her company was worth $2 billion at one time in valuation. Martha Stewart. Millions of American women had made a recipe from Martha Stewart. This woman built an entire media empire. And you all, she didn't kill anyone. She didn't deal anyone heroin, crack cocaine, none of that shit. She just loved cooking and receiving some insider tips in regards to her style. And this country said that she had committed a crime, financial fraud. And you all, she went to prison for 5 months. Think about it. This is the same country that locked up Martha Stewart, that now doesn't want to do anything to Donald Trump. Bernie Madoff. Do you all remember Bernie? He made off with a lot of people's money. That was the running joke. He stole billions. He never committed any violence. I think he died in prison. They gave Bernie Madoff, I think, about 500 years in prison. I think he has more years than T-Rex was on the planet. Never did anything violent. Not that I'm aware of. But he committed financial fraud. You all, have you heard of Sam Bankman-Fried? People, they were buying this digital stuff on the internet. And then he was telling folks, he had 2 companies. He told people that in one company, I keep my money separate from the other. I never mix shit. Come to find out, he lied to investors. Mix shit. Business collapse. It happens all the time. Financial fraud. I think they want to put him in prison for 250 years. Elizabeth Holmes. Theranos. This revolutionary technology. Stanford graduate. Fluent in Mandarin Chinese. The young woman is brilliant. Had a little too much hubris though. Because what she did was she knew her product wasn't as advertised. And yet she lied to investors and took something to market that wasn't what she stated. People lost everything, or a lot. Do you know this country put a pregnant Elizabeth Holmes in prison for 11 and a half years for being hubris? Really? She took a product to market and lied about what it could do. People invested. Wealthy people invested. And they lost everything. No violence. Elizabeth is not violent at all. She's a lover based off of those texts. 11 and a half years. Pregnant with a baby. This guy. Oh my goodness. Even Hannity said, Senator, how do you get to 34 counts? And the senator responded, well, if you put a lot of bullshit together, and you cut bullshit up 30 different ways, you still get bullshit. Wait a minute. That's a big assumption, Senator. Because we don't know if all the crimes are related to one incident. We haven't read the indictments. We haven't heard what he's being arraigned for. The senator doesn't know. I don't know. Donald Trump doesn't know. Jim Jordan doesn't know, apparently, because he wants the DA to testify about all the evidence of a secret grand jury. Never heard of this kind of craziness before. Anyway, what if it's not bullshit? Then the Republican Party will look like it does. It didn't do its due diligence. And this, you all, has continued. You have the Jewish space laser lady. You have the drag queen from Brazil. You have the dude who lied about university. And the other woman who said that her relative was in the Holocaust. Turns out she's related to a Nazi. It was the other way around. They're not properly doing their due diligence. Look, if somebody wants to be a mayor in some small little town, we'll say that, you can maybe choose tobacco and be a domestic abuser and get elected. But even if you want to be a mayor of San Jose, Phoenix, Los Angeles, they're going to put you through the ringer. Oh, I guarantee you, the mayor of Phoenix. Oh, yeah. That's a big time job. And now you're talking about the presidency? And this political party didn't do any due diligence? Didn't know that he had a thing for adult film stars? And they're saying it's no big deal. Wait. The party that preaches family values, morality, is now okay with an individual paying hush money to adult film stars? This is what they're okay with. Look, every president has turned over their taxes. The Republican Party didn't even demand that this man turn over his tax returns. They would have known that he paid no federal income tax in 2020. Zero. A billionaire. Can you imagine that? An individual who says they're a billionaire paid no federal income tax in 2020. How would that have gone over if that was known by the people when he was running for re-election? No due diligence. The Republican Party knows nothing, absolutely nothing, about Donald J. Trump's past. They never demanded to know. They didn't do any due diligence. And now, if some really bad shit comes out, and they've been riding with this guy for like how many election cycles? And if some shit really comes out, like if there's really a bombshell, if dominoes really start to fall, their political party is over with. They know it. They staked their wagon to it. They did it. Nobody made them do it. Donald Trump is run in so many different political parties. It's almost as many as companies he started. They're the ones that made him their nominee, their president, their nominee again, and now maybe possibly their presumed frontrunner. Now he's been indicted. You're innocent in this country until proven guilty by a court of law or jury of your peers. The Republican Party has attacked the DA, Alvin Bragg of Manhattan. Their president now is currently attacking the judge who's presiding over the case. The only thing left for them to do in a criminal trial proceeding is to attack you, the citizenry, we the people, the jury. You know now, everybody on these juries, they're not going to be safe. Look at what he's doing to the judge, putting his name out. I mean, it's publicly known, but saying this judge is this and that. This DA is this and that. Okay, the district attorney can beef up their security. Judges, they can beef up their security. You're just a citizen on a jury, taking time off from your job. Maybe a minimum wage job. Maybe you're a barista. Can you afford to beef up your security when someone is online, like the former president, putting your name out to the world? Can you, the average citizen, afford to do this? And then you have family members. Maybe you can afford to do it, but can your entire family? Can your daughter who's going to school? You know, there are deranged individuals in every society who do things based off of cults. You all know what I'm talking about. So this is highly dangerous. And this political party, the Republican Party, is attached to it. And they know if he goes down, they're going down too. So I think it's political, yes. But I think it's the other way around. I think they're politicizing this because they have the most to lose politically. And you all, we talked about karma before. Don't you think it's a little odd that now the Republican Party cares about political persecutions, witch hunts, and law and order? All three of those things. Was it not Donald Trump when he was running in 2016 that encouraged the FBI to indict his political opponent at the time, Hillary Clinton? Wasn't he out saying or insinuating that the FBI was dragging its feet in their investigation? Did he not insinuate what's taking him so long? It's a cut and dry case, right? That was the insinuation. He might not have said it. That was the insinuation. How do we know that was the insinuation? Based off of the rallies, the crowds. Weren't they chanting, lock her up? Oh, wait. His folks want to lock up his political opponent. And it's okay. We'll stop there. Law and order. You want to lock up your political opponent? Who had rallies chanting, lock up their opponent, ever in American history? Besides him. Everybody else runs for president and they're trying to garner support. No, he wanted to lock up all of his opponents. Former President Barack Obama spied on him. So they were chanting, lock him up. I thought it was the Republican Party that was for prosecuting their political adversaries. Interesting. How many investigations? Special counsels did they have? The Durham investigation. You all remember this? Am I the only one And then you talk about a witch hunt. A private citizen goes all across the country. This is a true story. A private citizen goes all across the country as the first ever African American president is elected, demanding that the audience demand that the president show his birth certificate to prove that he's an American citizen. Can you imagine such a story, a tale? Oh, it happened here only a few short years ago. You see, Donald Trump said that Barack Obama, the former president, was illegitimate because he wasn't born in this country. And he ran around the country telling the American citizen that Barack Obama was an illegitimate president. He wasn't born in America. He's a Kenyan, remember? Demanding that he show his birth certificate. If he's got nothing to hide, wasn't that the insinuation? If you got nothing to hide, show your birth certificate. Show your papers, so to speak. Like in South Africa, under apartheid. So we had that kind of bullshit go for 2 years, the first 2 years. When you're trying to get the most done, when any president tries to get the most done, your first 2 years, you're being hounded by a media mogul who starved for attention by demanding that you're not an American citizen and that you should show him your papers. Yeah. So the witch hunt ended when the former president now had to go all the way to Hawaii and pick up his long-form birth certificate, proving, in fact, what all of us except for racists like Donald Trump already knew, that he was born, like he said, in Hawaii, to parents whom he told and showed you. But that wasn't enough for Donald Trump. He had to see it. So finally, that lie, that witch hunt ended. And then we got the political persecution, you all, on January 6th. When he sicked a mob of deranged, deplorable, racist lunatics on the Capitol. You all heard them inside the building. Hey, Tucker, why don't you play the audio, sir, of them screaming all of that nut shit inside the Capitol on the Senate floor? Play that audio. Yeah. Political persecution. You just get elected president. It's time to certify that you've been elected. And the dude who's still president can't accept that he's no longer going to remain president. Decides to sick an angry mob on the United States Capitol building. Yeah, that's never happened before either. Unprecedented. 240 plus years of peaceful transfers of power. All ended. Unprecedented. So remember, when the Republican Party says this is unprecedented, their clown been doing a lot of shit that's unprecedented. And then you can't even assume office without persecution. How many years has it been? 3 years now. He's still saying they cheated, they rigged the election. Some people say, no, it's the machines that did it. Some people say they stuffed the mail-in ballots. All kinds of different conspiracy theories of not wanting to accept the legitimacy of President Biden. 3 different political adversaries. Lock her up. They spied on me. Show me your birth certificate. They rigged the election. They cheated from me. 3 different political adversaries. No law and order, political persecution, and witch hunts. So I always say that any good magician, in order to be a good magician, you take a magic trick, a gimmick, and you do sleight of hand. What's true of you is true of someone else. It's called projection. And they do it quite a bit over there, to the point where it's very nauseating and tiring. Anyway, you all, we don't know. So stay tuned. And whether there's going to be any type of isolated events or not is really dependent on the citizenry. I think a lot of citizens are tapped out. They're like, we don't want to go through this again. We're tired of it. It's a spectacle that's not amusing anymore. And you know, they talk about the rallies. Well, that sort of kind of fizzled out too. He says, oh, I have big crowds. The Ringling Brothers was a circus. When they would come to town, they would have thousands of people gather too. People like going to circuses. They're amusing. You see different clowns at them. So that's what you all say the next time. I have big rallies. You know, that kind of thing. When people actually fly overhead and see the crowd, as the former First Lady of the United States of America said she did. She said it's just black. It's not that many people. And we know it's the same people. Same old, same old. It's the same people who used to come to lynchings in this country. Go and look at those crowd signs. It's the same people who used to pack Madison Square Garden and turn out to American Nazi rallies. It's those people again. We know. But it's not that many of them. Not as many as they think. We fly overhead, we see. And then they fly overhead and see us. And I guarantee you, it's more of us than them. So, let them whine like little babies. But whining doesn't get you anything. And this is a larger context of this story. He's whining. Okay, maybe they pacify you a little bit. But pacifying something is not really getting what you want either. You know, you've seen a baby in a store before, crying and throwing a temper tantrum. Especially the little girls. Oh my goodness, they start crying and throwing temper tantrums. Screaming and shouting, rolling on the floor, pounding things, throwing things. And their mother has to capitulate. You all have seen it. Here, baby, I'll get you a piece of candy. They pacify her. Now, that's what you see. there's a lot of things you don't see. Like when you get home and your mother says, come, let's have a seat. Let me talk to you about something. When we're out in public, baby boo, you don't carry on like that around me and embarrass me. Next time you act that way in the store, not only are you not getting the piece of candy, you're not going to be able to do anything you want or like to do at home. You like coloring? I'm going to take your coloring book away for 2 weeks if you ever behave like that in the store again. See, we just see that she was pacified in the store to get the candy. Larger context. Whining is not going to get us anything as a society, as groups, as citizens. We've got to do what we know we've got to do. Now they're finally starting to take out some of the trash that's been stinking in the place. Look, this indictment is a win, not politically, but a win for women globally. Yeah, women are winning. Men, you gotta take the L on this one. This one is an easy L and an easy W. Women win on this one, hands down. Donald Trump, at the very minimum, even in his most hardcore of hardcore supporters, at minimum is a douchebag to them. That's what douchebags do. They lie, they cheat, they steal. Exhibit A, B, and C. Dude over there called Donald J. Trump, America. Did he not lie at minimum about the affair? Everyone knows he had an affair with Stormy Daniels. Absolutely no woman in the United States of America doesn't believe that if you're in a hotel room at a particular resort with a woman in your hotel room who happens to be an adult film star, and you happen to have paid $130,000 based off of a loan from your lawyer that you repaid, no woman believes that nothing happened. I don't even think men believe that. Or maybe some of them can convince themselves they do. But no woman believes that. So he lied about the affair. And you all say, it's no big deal. Well, at very minimum, it's extramarital affair. Now, why is this important? Aren't these the same people that were clamoring that T.J. Holmes and Amy Robosh from GMA 3 in the morning be removed? Now, backstory. These were co-workers who were super professional at work. And they apparently began a friendship that turned to intimacy. But they were both married at the time. People demanded, Americans, these are American anchors, people demanded that they be removed. They didn't violate any company policies, not any. But people said what they did was immoral. They had an extramarital affair. And I said, calm down. These are two consenting grown adults who became friends, and shit happened. This guy is paying hush money to keep adult film stars from squealing on him, cheating on his wife while she's pregnant. And now that's no big deal. Wow, you all are just like the weather in certain places. Bipolar. 1 minute extramarital affairs are a big deal, then the next they're not. I don't get that. But that's what we know. And the Republicans are saying no biggie. It's small potatoes. 34 counts, you all. 34 plus counts. Now, bear in mind, this is just the first of 3 potential indictments. He is looking at a case in Fullerton County where they tried to tamper with the Georgia voting process. Have to think about the word there. Because what they did was they got fake electors. You'll remember this. People that were his supporters to sign a document saying that they were the authentic, real electors. They forged documents and sent that to the National Archives. Okay? So we have forgery going on, election tampering. We have a man calling the Secretary of State saying, find me more votes than my opponent, even though the Secretary of State is thinking and saying we've counted all the votes. So you read between the lines there. Seems like election tampering and election fraud to me. So he's got that case and then the DOJ in D.C. January 6th. And those documents, hundreds of thousands of classified documents. They asked for them to be returned. He says, no, they belong to me. Makes a big stink about that. They finally arrange a time, a date to go and collect it. He turns over some of it. The National Archives alerts them that they still have more that are missing, outstanding. They go to his lawyers, and his lawyers lie to investigators, like they turned over everything. Then, while that's happening, the staff are moving the boxes to the tool shed by the pool, right? They come and raid and have to take it by force, their property. That's going on too. Manhattan has found him to have allegedly committed 34 plus different crimes. 34. That's just one jurisdiction. We have no idea what the rest of the jurisdictions might rule or find. Somebody said, oh, he's not going to go to prison. John Gotti went to prison. We mentioned Martha Stewart, Bernie Madoff. Elizabeth Holmes is doing 11 and a half years, you all. Sam Bankman-Fried, he's looking at possibly doing 250. It's financial fraud. If somebody is guilty of it, don't you have to prosecute and arrest and lock them up? Look, they would have to say to the American people, if we're not going to prosecute Donald Trump for these type of indiscretions, this type of criminality, rampant, oh, I would surmise this has probably been going on for decades. 30, 40, 50 years. Rampant criminality. They would have to say, if we're not going to prosecute Donald Trump for all of that shit, you as a citizenry would be like, why are you prosecuting me for stealing PPP money? You know how many Americans have been indicted on fraud charges related to the Paycheck Protection Program? PPP, as it's commonly known as. Go and look it up. You can go on the Justice Department website, and you can go and list and read for hours the names of Americans who were indicted on financial crimes related to Paycheck Protection Program money. They have to say, we're going to cut all these people loose. Hey, look, most of those people have never harmed a fly in their life. They just needed some money during a depression, during a mismanaged pandemic. They just needed some money. They had low cash flow, low liquidity, and they turned to criminality. America, you'd have to cut them a break. If you want to cut Donald Trump a break, they're going to be sitting in prison saying, cut me a break. A lot of them are in jail, prison, right now. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene is not going to visit them, all the Americans that stole money from the PPP program. They did it because they were desperate. A lot of them did it out of desperation. America would have to say, your debts are forgiven. You're free to go. Just don't do it again. If you want them to say that to Donald Trump, you'd have to say it to Elizabeth Holmes too. You'd have to say it to Sam Bankman-Fried. Bernie Madoff, I think, passed away. I don't think anybody said R.I.P. You'd have to say it to all of these people who commit financial fraud every day and get busted, go to prison. You'd have to let them go. Because now the Republican Party is saying it's no big deal to commit financial fraud. It might be 34 different criminal acts that the Manhattan grand jury has returned an indictment on. Each one that's being read off, I want you all to listen and then go to your local library and print out the full indictment. And if you know anybody in your family that's ever been found guilty of any one of those things he's been alleged to have committed, I want you to contact your state senator first, then your senator, your congressman, and tell them, let my child go free. You government, you prosecuted him for this. Donald Trump is alleged to have committed this same crime. You don't want to prosecute Donald Trump. So why did you want to prosecute my son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew, my aunt, my granddad? It hangs outside the Supreme Court. Equal justice under the law for all. Now, if they're going to make a certain set of rules for one person, the rest of us should demand that they make certain exceptions and rules for us too, depending on the circumstance and the predicament. Look, that's what they're trying to get across to us. That he somehow should be treated different. Why? I don't know. You all locked up Martha Stewart. She said she had to make jam out of crab apples. She didn't enjoy anything besides making nativity scene out of ceramics. Am I lying? Am I living some kind of delusional reality? Did the American system not incarcerate Martha Stewart for insider trading? She went to the slammer. She was a billionaire too. Look, if I'm on messaging, I'm saying, wait a minute. Bernie Madoff didn't harm anyone besides investors he stole money from. They're 500 years like T-Rex in prison. Martha Stewart had to serve 5 months. Think about how women are now starting to see this. An American female icon, the first ever self-made female billionaire in this country, went to prison. America sent her to prison over financial fraud and crimes. But now this dude, you all want to give him a pass. See, this is how women see things. And you all want to act as though there's no sexism and misogyny. Oh, he's a billionaire. He used to be the president. So, I thought it was equal justice under the law for all. He's not the president now. He's back to being a private citizen again. If you commit a crime, is it so simple as to, oh, as long as you announce your candidacy for the presidency, you're obliged to commit crimes or slide on previous crimes committed because you're an announced presidential candidate? Hey, you all, let's do an experiment. I'm not telling anyone or recommending anyone do this. But if you do get in a tough situation, let's say you get caught and busted for stealing food, liquor, anything. When you get busted and they want to put the squeeze on you and they want to send you to prison or jail, just announce your candidacy for president to the police. You cannot arrest me. I'm running for president. Yeah. Seeing as that's the standard nowadays, you can commit crimes or get away with past ones as long as you're a presidential candidate. I have presidential candidate immunity. Americans. It's getting insane out there. Is this what the Republican Party is saying? They're saying he's a leading candidate because they haven't even had a primary state go first yet. So he's leading by polls in a race that doesn't start till next year, in essence. So you can commit criminality or have been known to have committed criminality. But you just need to be a leading candidate in the race for president. The Republican Party should be ashamed of itself, but it has no more shame. They went from abolitionists to fascists, and now they've given us the circus. a circus to a town, expect clowns to be part of it. They brought the circus to their party. And what do they got now? Clowns galore. Congress members who are unprofessional at official functions. You know, I don't know who would want to sit and watch 60 Minutes tomorrow night, when we as a citizenry were all tuned in to watch what our union is doing, and we saw this person behaving repugnantly and abhorrently on our screen. So I don't know who's going to watch 60 Minutes. I'm certainly not. I wouldn't want to see anybody that disrespected my leader, even if they disagreed, in an official form, capacity, when their duty and job at that point is to sit and listen. They nominate a spokesperson, the opposition party, to give a rebuttal. This year it was the governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She talked about critical race theory and woke mobs. She didn't say anything about reducing inflation. She didn't say anything about healing and repairing our nation through reparations. She didn't say you as a woman have a right to make decisions about your body. No, she talked about things that are delusional. So this is what their party has become. Deranged. With people who are clownish. That's the only way I can put it, you all. They have the title, but they're not operating professionally. They want to be clowns. So I don't feel any sympathy whatsoever. This was long overdue, and I think more is coming. I think this is just the first domino, you all, to fall. And that's why I said this is a win for women, because men, they're in a lot of trouble. A lot of that shit that they do, this sends a clear message that they're not going to be able to not have any accountability. That's why you're seeing a lot of men, especially conservative men, on the internet spaz out. They know they do the majority of the fuck shit in society. And they're not going to be able to get away with it. This is huge. Donald Trump is seen as an icon, a barometer of all the things that are toxic in masculinity. And this is a shell shock to them. Look, it's not lost on me the racial undertones in all of this too. That the Republican Party is trying to reverberate. Calling the district attorney an animal. Calling and threatening the district attorney. You know, whatever you think, I've got to say the DA's office and the residents and citizens of Manhattan are really strong. You have no idea how heavy this lift has been on that grand jury, on the district attorney himself, their families, their friends. Yeah, you've got the former president of the United States speaking to millions of people, putting your name in his mouth, threatening you. Yeah, that's why I said, you all, this I don't believe this is just my opinion now. I don't believe this 34 count indictment is bullshit, as the senator from South Carolina alleged. No, it's no way in the world the first African American district attorney of Manhattan would decide to go after and ultimately secure an indictment of the first American president in history if the evidence wasn't substantial, monumental, and downright severely criminal. There's no way. Nobody is going to do it. I don't care what their political affiliation is. That's why I'm not buying that this is politics. Look, he's got to get it through more smell tests than anybody else, the district attorney. First, he's got to convince 12 minimum, 23 maximum people in Manhattan that Donald Trump, the former president, has committed a crime. Just that thesis alone gets you laughed out of the room by most people when they hear it. So you got to convince anybody beyond a shadow of a doubt to return an indictment. Now, the defendant is not allowed to present evidence. So that part is different. So the onus is on the prosecutor, the district attorney, to present all the evidence that he's got. He's got to lay all his cards down on the table. And you, as a citizen in Manhattan, have to determine if that's criminal. You're telling me 12 to 23 people, potentially, random people, found 34 different acts of criminality and no crime. I'm completely innocent. Look, technically that's true. You're innocent until proven guilty. But I'm telling you, you know how they say from the look of things? From the look of things, you all, if 12 to 23 random people can come up with 34 acts of criminality against you, I'm telling you, it's not looking good. I would say that about myself. If they can convince a lot of people based off of evidence, meaning they actually have to present shit. Like, they can't just say, oh, this person alleges this. No. It has to be evidence. Like, I got receipts. Like, I got numbers. Like, I was the one to put this in there kind of evidence. In order for that many people to believe you. And if it's a bullshit case, the people sitting there listening to the DA are going to say, look, I kind of see where you're going here, but this is kind of bullshit. So we're not going to indict. You know, there's often times where grand juries choose not to indict. They say the evidence was not sufficient enough. All the time. And they don't indict people. Sometimes they indict you on 2 counts. 3, 4, 5. You all, I've almost never heard of a 34 count indictment. Besides, if you've been committing a pattern of rampant criminality for years and years and years. That's the only time. You can't even get to that many counts if there's not a pattern and practice. Pattern and practice, y'all. I think that's what we're going to see Monday and Tuesday. Pattern and practice of rampant, excessive financial fraud and criminality. Pattern and practice. This is a family-run business, right? Okay. So think of it like that too. Also, you all, I think, this is just what I think. Once those indictments are read and they're publicly known to the citizenry, the licensing deals that he's got, they're going to vanish. Trump Towers, you probably won't hear about Trump Towers in the next decade. Maybe even sooner. Because it probably won't exist. They're going to take those names off those towers. They're going to have to. Chicago, New York, the casinos, all of that. The resorts, they're going to take those names off. Trump, the name, it's coming off. I guarantee you. And that's where he gets the money from, the licenses. Now, you say, well, they might be under contract. Most license deals are contracted. Yes, this is true. But they're under contract usually based off of a litany of conditions. Some of those contracts are conditional. Like you have to provide X, Y, and Z to us. It has to be beneficial to both sides. A licensing deal. When they find out about that rampant fraud, oh, I'm telling you, those names are coming off. And it's highly likely that some of these counts involve numbers of years that a regular citizen would be looking at if they were found guilty of that same particular crime. So for those of you all who are legal students, this is going to be a fun little game. When those indictments are read, the counts for that indictment, go and look at what average citizens, their prison term sentences are for that same particular crime. If they're like 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years, I don't know about you all, but financial fraud, usually that carries a steep amount of prison time. Elizabeth Holmes, 11 and a half years. You all got to cut her loose. If you're okay with Martha Stewart going to prison for 5 months, Elizabeth Holmes getting 11 and a half years, you all got to make up your mind here. We can't do this kind of crazy shit where you're okay arresting certain people, but then other people, they gotta break out windows and punch law enforcement. Can you imagine if Martha Stewart and women in America went on TV and said, this is unjust? This is a grave miscarriage of the justice system. How dare they? The district attorney is a filthy animal. Threaten the district attorney, threaten judges. Martha Stewart was loved by American women and still is. She's adored. Why she had to go to prison? Elizabeth Holmes, she wanted to run to Mexico. The government said no and took her passport. They said she was a flight risk. She was all set to go bon voyage. 11 and a half years, they threw the book at her. For financial shit. Really hubris. Look, I'm going to be out there saying Martha Stewart went to prison. Elizabeth Holmes is doing 11 and a half years. Neither one of those women have ever harmed anyone. It's a non-violent crime. I'm going to be like, free Elizabeth Holmes, 2023. Let her go. Let all the people go. Everybody that did that PPP shit, you know who you are. The financial fraud shit. I'm going to be out there. Let my PPP people go. Let my people free. What? You have double standards for certain citizens, but not others? This is what it's looking like to us. Any independent observer would see it this way. If they weren't so blinded politically, they would see it this way too. I'm just saying.